my God, I was rocking there for a second, I swear.
I know. Like I said, I'm glad you guys ran over on Friday because it made me feel better that I never end on time. But you guys forgot the intro.
Well, I don't have access to the intro.
Yeah, you do. It's under brand over there on the
Oh,
side.
really? I don't know
Yeah,
how to find it.
yeah.
You'll have to teach me.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, where's Justin?" I made a special intro just for Justin. We got a copyright strike because of it. I did a lot of work for that.
Oh my. Well, share it with me so I know how to
Yeah,
do it in the future. I just ad libbed like the old days.
yeah. I mean, it was a great show. I loved Friday. That was a great show. You guys
Well,
talked about
thank
a
you. Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of very interesting things. I had some discussions offline with Justin after that show.
Are you suggesting that there's no big ass cranes where you are?
No, there are no big ass cranes outside my window.
Well, there is a big ass crane outside mine, and the good news is the reason they called me from the front desk was not because they dropped something on it, and it turns out the stuff that they're using the crane for is Verizon is building a cell tower on top of our condos,
Oh,
and so they're bringing the stuff up to the roof. And so if they drop it on my car, then Verizon can get me a new car, and hopefully when they're done, better cell reception.
that's right. I mean, if you have Verizon or
Well, I have Xfinity Mobile, and they use
I was going to say or Xfinity. I didn't know if they had that
yeah,
there. That's what I use as well, and
yeah,
they use the Verizon
and they
tower.
use the Verizon network for
Yeah,
that. So yeah,
so it's a good. Hopefully, you guys get good reception along with that cancer that you're all going to get. Supposedly.
thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're funny.
Yeah. See. Look, I knew
I
someone was
see
going to
that.
say it. Leave it for Igor. Thank you,
Yeah,
Igor.
yeah. Well, you know what's worse? Windmills. It's bad for birds.
That's right. Windmills. That's
Yeah.
why you see all the dead birds all
Yeah,
over the
and
place.
it kills your property
Um,
values.
also,
I've heard that somewhere.
I hear that putting a phone next to your head
Yeah.
is also really bad for you.
Yes, yes.
Also, breathing air is bad for
Yeah.
you. Being out in the sun for too long or not enough sun, not drinking enough water or drinking too much water. Basically, everything's going to kill you. So, whatever.
So I think what you just told me, living is bad for you.
Yes, that's right. 100% of the time, living
Yeah.
causes death.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just 100% fact. So there you go.
Mhm. Yeah.
So speaking of living and death, let's talk
Yes.
about the government.
Do you have any idea what just and I know I'm digressing for a second, but it's just because I'm morbid like this. Do you have any idea how much Social Security pays you if your spouse passes away?
I do not. I do
If
not.
I remember correctly, I believe it was $250. Okay. Now, what you're supposed to do with that $250 is beyond me. Okay.
Yeah, you could buy the lid of the coffin.
No, you cannot.
You can't buy the whole. I'm not saying you can buy the whole coffin. I'm just saying
No,
maybe
you
just
could
the
no,
hinges. Maybe you can buy the hinges.
no. Because the most one of the most expensive things you do in life is die.
Yeah.
Okay, because to plant you in the ground, if you think selling cars and car salespeople are bad,
Yeah.
when you have to deal with a funeral home and all that stuff, when you're emotionally distressed because your loved one passed away or a loved one passed away, I don't want you to think for a second that there's a vulnerability there that they can exploit. Okay, but you really think your spouse would want to be in the least expensive casket we have? I mean, this is for eternity now. So they do play on your emotions, and if I remember correctly, the whole kit and caboodle was, I don't know, somewhere around 12 grand. And the government, God bless them, Social Security gives you 250 towards it.
Yeah. And it makes you appreciate John Goodman looking for a Ralph's and a coffee can.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that's all you need to do for me. Like I don't If anyone asks if I cared about the cheapest coffin, I'm dead. I don't.
Yeah, neither would I.
What
Yeah.
the, I don't. You
But
know.
I guess we should get off coffins for a minute, and we
Yeah,
should actually talk about what this show's about. So
that's
what's the
right.
government doing now?
Let's talk about something far more depressing. Um,
Okay, than
so,
death.
California, yeah, that's right. California has banned diesel trucks by 2036. All
Really?
diesel engines, not just semis, all diesel engines. Um, but don't worry, they're also banning freight trains. In 2035, you cannot have a train that is not zero emissions that is more than 35 years old. So,
Wow.
so all those of you who know how California rail system works and how much of your goods come into the port of California and then get onto trains and are distributed out to everybody, good luck in the future on the price of all those goods.
So in other words, they're gonna have to use like an electric truck to truck them from the port, um, and to like Arizona or Nevada, so that they can then put them on trains, that aren't electric. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because the trains won't be able to enter California.
Yeah. Because my point is to this member, this affects all of the Western United States at least,
Yes,
uh, because so many of the goods come in through the ports in California. Some of the busiest ports in the world are in California. A lot of your goods come in through there. So, is this a realistic goal? No, of course it's not realistic. That said,
yes,
I will say this about California. In 2012, Governor Brown signed a bill saying we needed 15 million cars in California by 2027,
yeah,
2026 that were electric vehicles. This was a
okay,
time when only the Nissan Leaf was out on the roads and you were counting them by the hundreds.
okay,
Uh,
not the millions.
no. And so in 2012, you go, that's stupid. That's
Yes,
unrealistic. Well, we hit that in March of
wow.
this year.
So how many
So,
millions now?
um, well, we hit over the 15 million goal. I
Oh
don't know
my
how much,
goodness.
like, so, um, and that has to be cumulative. That has to be, I mean, I didn't look into the number. So it has to be cumulative. We can't have 15 million active, right? I don't know how it worked. But, but the point is we hit the state's goal earlier. So I do say, yeah, these goals all seem unrealistic, but
Yes.
that one did too. Um, Flip that, the Schwarzenegger administration had a goal of hydrogen vehicles on the road and the hydrogen network, and that has just been laughable to this point. I think there's 63 hydrogen stations in California, which okay is a lot for the rest of the nation, but it's nothing. Like
Yeah.
you still can't really get around. So
So
okay, that makes more. 1.5 million, not 15. My decimal
okay.
got moved. And
Okay.
yes, thank
So
you. I'm
so
like, I
so
said 15. I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
yeah. So if I hear you correctly, what you're saying is a lot of these goals are unrealistic until they prove to be realistic.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of so some of these. That's sort of the issue and everything with it because lest we forget, California is also trying to ban natural gas stoves and appliances, all natural gas appliances. Um,
So like a natural gas water heater would be banned?
yes,
Why?
which we don't use a ton of them here, but we do use natural gas heaters and propane heaters up in the mountain areas.
Yeah.
The mountain areas that just got snowed in during the last storms that came through and people were stuck in their homes for 3, 7, 12 days at a time and couldn't leave. Yeah, they're trying to ban the heaters from those places.
Why?
So because gas is bad. Don't you know, Ray?
Oh,
Gas causes emissions.
well, I know, like, if I have French onion soup, gas is bad, but 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 I thought natural gas was good.
So, I mean, it's better than you know, petrol, gasoline, and it's better than diesel, but it still causes emissions. It's still in there. Now, I will say that this article that I pulled up that I barely gave you all time to read
Yeah,
um, was that the court sort of struck down one of these bans out of Berkeley, um, saying, no, 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 you can't do that. You didn't take in commercial codes and other things into consideration when you do it. So they struck down the Berkeley ban, but that's just, it's working its way through the courts now. Certainly, if it goes to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals here, um, that will get overturned. And then
that that
I
that
guess you make your
that's the
way up.
liberal court, isn't it? The Ninth Circuit Court. That's
Yeah, the
considered
Ninth
a very
Circuit
liberal
Court is
court.
out of San Francisco. I will say,
Yeah,
though, that they got a very left wing reputation for a very long time. They earned a reputation, I should say, um, but they're not that as much anymore. They're not
okay,
what they were 15 years ago. Let's
gotcha.
say they're still leftist. We're still on the left coast out here,
Yeah,
but they're definitely more moderate and less anti-business than they were. Um, I do think they would probably still overturn this ban, but it is actually a 50-50 in my mind. Like, they might not. They may say, yeah, you overstepped your bounds. They've sort of cited on some of those things more lately.
so natural gas could go by the wayside.
Yeah.
Um, um, if the
Diesel.
train's not electric,
Yep. Non-electric trains.
that stops at the border. Thank you very much. Thanks for
What?
hitting the border. You must stop now. They want to ban diesel.
Hmm.
So if I hear you correctly, it's everything fossil fuel related.
Correct.
Now,
But I wanted to point out real quick, because I
yes,
see some of the comments here, and then what you just said, stops at the border.
yeah,
Lest we forget, when California put the ICE vehicle ban into place, there are 11 states
yeah.
that have laws that enact as soon as the California Air Resource Board, CARB, enacts laws.
No,
So
I
there are
understand
11
that.
states that just follow legally, like they just trigger whatever we say to do.
Yeah.
So this isn't just at the border.
Okay.
This affects all the way across the country, oddly enough. I don't fully understand why states do that, but they have. Yeah, so this is definitely more, and guaranteed. So some people are saying Washington, Oregon. No, they follow California.
Yeah.
If California does this, Washington and Oregon will follow. They're just going to happen.
So so if so they want everything to be electric, I suppose.
Yeah,
And how do they propose, when I say they, the state of California, how does the state of California propose that all the electricity that will be needed for to replace all the fossil fuels that are being used, how does the state of California propose that electricity that's being produced um, isn't utilizing coal or fossil fuels in order to produce the electricity?
well, and that stance, was that last July we hit 109% electrical power produced being green energy in California. Um,
Okay.
so there's that. We have the virtual grid, which Tesla is working very, very hard on right now, which is plugging your vehicle or your battery pack walls in, and they feed back to the grid during the peak periods. That's already happening in California. We have the 1 million kilowatt hours on the virtual grid right now. They plan on expanding that. That's a big focus right now. More renewable green energies. I don't know that, like, I'm not saying that it's possible. I'm just telling you what California is saying and
Okay,
the
no,
things
I
that they're
understand.
working on. Uh, Definitely more battery storage. California is looking heavy into energy storage solutions, both commercially and privately. They have upped incentives on solar and on battery walls. So, like, majorly, like, you can get free solar and a free battery wall in California if you own a home in many parts. And then the rate you can sell it back to the electric company is really high right
Wow.
now. For now, I will say that, I've lived in California long enough. I've studied government long enough to know that, of course, once everything goes electric, we'll see how those prices and incentives stick around. Once you own a monopoly, you're ticket master, right?
Yes. Are they increasing the amount of acreage in the southern part of the state, the deserty part of the state, uh, for solar panel farms and things like that to help produce more energy?
I think they're working on the commercial and home sector. Lest we forget, 63% of California is set off as nature preserves and federal state parks and et cetera. So most of our land is you can't build on.
So
And that includes the deserts, actually, a lot and lots of deserts that you cannot build on.
is that why all the cities are so massive? Because you're really limited as to where you can put
Yeah.
people?
Well, yeah. So most of the coastline is actually protected. And then lots of the desert is protected. So you're not getting stuff there. The coastline, I know we've had lawsuits and fights about this, about putting in tidal power plants to
Uh-huh.
go out there, because we can use a lot of tidal power, obviously being on the coast,
Sure.
but the plants are big and ugly and destroy things to build them, as everything does. No matter what kind of power you're generating, you have to destroy nature to build it. That's the nature of human made things. So we
I
have
thought you were
that.
going to say you have to destroy nature in order to preserve nature. Uh,
Yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, I there's definitely some interesting thoughts going on there. California got rid of all but one. Actually, no, I think that just shut down all but one nuclear power plant, which just shut down. So we don't have any new nuclear power plants. So for 20 years, we burned more fossil fuels and coal to generate our power instead of using nuclear. So you kind of go,
yeah.
these concepts of saving the environment sort of backfire sometimes if you're not common sense with it.
I just find it hard to believe that you can't set aside some swaths of acreage of land in the deserty areas um, for solar panel farms, for solar farms. It just seems to me that if you're in an area that is relatively dry and gets 300 plus sunny days a year, that it's foolish not to take advantage of that, to help produce the clean energy that's needed. Um,
Well, I will tell you this, everyone who wants to go Google this, and Ray, you should Google this, look up California City, California, which is down south,
yes,
um, a gigantic failed city project that sits empty, that several people have suggested, hey, let's put solar power plants out there. It's
yeah,
already rigged up with power, it's connected to a grid. So you could just transfer the power out, like it's already there. And the answer has been no, to a failed city that has a population of like 100 people, that has sat for decades now, with roads that didn't get built and all this planning. So there's lots of weird stuff going on. Remember, Ray, this is a state that built the last dam in 1967. our population has quadrupled since then, and we have no more water savings than we did back then.
Hmm.
And they poo-poo any new dams. Our last three governors has promised new dams. They don't get built. They get stopped. Um, we have a man-caused drought every year here because when it rains, we just let it all go out underneath the Golden Gate because our water is full, and Lord knows we're not going to need that later in the year. So let's just let it all out. Uh, so I'd say California is sort of two minds, and neither one of them are the smart part.
Wow.
So
It seems as if they've let go of any common sense solutions to some of these problems.
I would say that we're good at coming up with pie in the sky ideas. They're great. I would don't always align with California values, of course,
Yeah.
obviously, but I think you align more with our values than I do. but I look out there and I go, look, do I like the environment? I love the environment. It's where I keep all my stuff. So I'd like to protect the environment. I like nature. I like going there. I like going to the forest and the beach and the desert and
Sure.
all of that. I want to preserve it, but I also want to live here, and I want power and water and infrastructure and all the things that I'm willing to pay my taxes for.
Yes.
And then I question where all of this money is going because I'm not seeing it built here. But we do things like, hey, let's have all energy should be, or everything should be electric. Like, okay, well, that's good for a sci-fi movie, but let's get back to reality here and look at how feasible that is. And
Yeah.
I think as a lot of people in the chat have said, is that realistic on the time frames? I just don't. Even keeping in mind the 2012 thing, I just don't see how that's realistic.
Wow. It's yeah. I'm reminded of something that I have uttered once or twice. And that is that the problem with common sense is it's just not all that common anymore. And I would think a lot of what would appear to be common sense solutions, um, if they are not necessarily underwritten by large lobbying groups, doesn't present the state legislators with the revenue stream that they personally would like
Yeah.
to be able to enjoy. And so, therefore, common sense solutions go out the window. If you're telling me there's California City, there's a whole city, there's a whole that nobody lives there, and it's in the desert,
Yep.
then why not just cover the whole damn town with solar panels? It's already there and nobody lives there. So
Yeah.
what are you hurting? Who you hurting?
So a lot of us have had that question, Ray, like why, and it's close enough to LA, they could power Los Angeles off of it.
Wow.
Actually, they could power more than that because of the square footage and the way those Tesla solar or the solar farms work with the Tesla battery backups and stuff. You could power LA off of it easy, plus probably San Diego.
Wow.
But we just sit there and I don't really understand sort of all the stuff. And it comes out to just exactly what you said, Ray. It's the lobbyists who have the most money. Don't forget, we have it's $500 billion train to nowhere that we've
Excuse
spent
me?
now. Yeah. The California high-speed rail. First
Yeah.
off, it was supposed to go from San Francisco to Los Angeles,
Okay.
which actually would have kind of been useful. Like
You
even
would
I would have
think.
gone like, hey, I could take the Capitol Corridor there. I could take it down.
Yeah.
That would save me a lot. I go down there. But instead, they made it from a city outside San Francisco, about an hour outside, to a city called Bakersfield. So it is a train that goes from a city no one wants to go to a city no one wants to go to. And it's cost $500 billion so far. And there's no train. It has been 15, maybe 20 years, 15. It's at least 15 years. There's no train. There's no there's barely any track.
What they
So
spend the 500 billion on?
well, we have theories on where that money went. Uh, I don't know that I want to say what the theory on it, even though we're okay to talk politics here. Let's just say it has probably gone funneled to a political pack or two
Gotcha.
out here.
Oh,
Um,
gotcha.
so just guess.
So,
I have no evidence of that whatsoever, other than I live here and I know how things work.
okay, well, here I'll help you with it. You don't want to say it, so I'll say it. Money talks and BS walks. Okay,
Yeah.
so the whatever the state pays state senators and legislators is nothing in comparison to what they can make
Yeah.
from those who want to line their pockets in order to get the things that they want out of state government. And so that applies to the federal government as well.
Yeah.
So as long as that's how the system operates, then yeah, there can be $500 billion spent on nothing. It's almost like a Seinfeld episode. It's 500 billion for nothing.
Well,
It's a show about nothing. It's
So
we can every citizen in this country could live comfortably on the amount of governmental waste that there is.
Yes.
Whether it be at the Pentagon, whether it be on a state, city, county government basis. It's just, there is so much wasted money that, the middle class could be a lot larger. They could afford all these overpriced automobiles if we just got our hands on all the money that somehow ends up getting funneled to politicians who go into office with a relatively modest net worth and come out of office with a significantly higher net worth, and that can't be done just based on the salaries that they get paid. So
No.
it's
No.
it's not as if we don't all know this. We've just kind of accepted it as, well, that's the way it has to be.
Well, yeah, and California reminds me of that time. I think it was like 5-6 years ago that a watchdog company or corporation went in to investigate Congress's stock picks, right? Because somehow they outperform every Wall Street analyst.
How could
These
that
senators who were once bartenders and now outperform Wall Street on their stock picks. So Watchdog went in there, and the head of the Senate, majority leader, said, no, you don't have any authority to investigate us. Go away.
be? Yeah.
So they did. I was like, what do you mean? Why did you accept that as so the watchdog group just said, oh, okay, so we won't investigate. We're just going to go away.
And it's, I mean, we all know, if you are holding hearings so that you can propose legislation on various aspects of society, and how that might impact various publicly traded companies within those sectors, then you have the ultimate inside information when it comes to buying and selling stocks. The simple solution that will never be passed. The simple solution is that no congressperson or senator should be, and nobody on their staff should be allowed to purchase or sell stocks of publicly traded companies while they are serving their constituents. But since that's how they make so damn much money, they're never going to pass legislation that would take away that revenue stream for them. It might be in the country's best interest, but it isn't in their individual best interest. So it doesn't happen. It won't happen.
And that's the problem with our system. Like, I love our system, But one of the problems is those who watch over Congress are Congress.
Yes.
Like it feels like we're missing sort of. It's supposed to be a circle here, and we're missing the oversight of Congress to do this. Just like we're talking about the debt ceiling right now, right? And
Hmm.
what do they say? You're going to stop getting your Social Security checks. You're going to stop getting Medicare checks, and we're going to stop this. Anyone here? Hey, Congress is going to stop getting paid. Yeah,
No.
somehow that isn't on the list of the things that we're going to cut. We're not going to cut anything that affects Congress or the military, or no, we're going to hurt you first.
Yes.
And I've experienced this when I was in traffic court many years ago now here in California, where there was this budget thing and said,
Yes.
you go in there to get your court date and do all your stuff, and they have 20 windows up there. One of them is open, and every other window has a sign that says, due to budget constraints, this person is no longer here. So you have to wait for 2 hours in this line to get through. Then you go and you're seen by the judge. And then I went in to pay my fine because I absolutely did break the law, and I just
Yes.
pled guilty and went, yep, I did that. I ran that red light at way over the speed limit. Yeah, no problem. I'll just go pay my fine because I did that. So I go back to pay the fine. There's me and one other person in there to pay the fine. There are 12 people sitting at windows to collect the money. And I go, yeah, those people didn't lose their job.
Yeah.
It's there to make you hurt, to make you go and support giving them more money. And that's just sort of the way, and everything in the state works that way. They will hurt you until you acquiesce, financially speaking.
Yes. No, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
And so, we get that way with the power. Just like everyone talks about our brownouts and blackouts. Well, we don't really have blackouts, but we have brownouts. The rolling brownouts that happen every summer here in the energy grid. And I will tell you, I have worked right across the street from the Capitol. Never seen a brownout at the Capitol once. Not one time. You walk in there, it's like 63 degrees in the middle of July. And you're like, I don't know that it needs to be this cold. I got to put my jacket on to walk around the Capitol. But meanwhile, I go, 8 blocks away, and, all of the power's out because, we're not generating enough energy. It never seems to hit the government buildings.
Well,
actually, I have seen empty government buildings with AC and lights on during brownouts.
Wow. All the more reason that we should turn California City into Solar City, which is right next door to the bankrupt Circuit City. Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for solar. I love clean energy if it makes sense, but I'm also one that believes that nuclear power is clean energy because I understand how it works.
Yes.
And I don't think nuclear bomb. Okay, I understand that there are two different things, which not everyone seems to, especially here. But I mean, we have solar mandates on all new construction here for housing, and it works. I got my mother free solar on her house. She pays nothing. She has a negative electric bill rate, so she gets money back. It's great. And it does work when you're in the right places. It doesn't work everywhere in California. Not everywhere is sunny like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you would just think that in the parts of the country where the weather cooperates, and what I mean by that is that you have much more than 300 sunny days a year, as opposed to other parts of the country where, it feels like you're lucky to have 200. That in those areas where you have all that sunshine, you should be figuring out ways to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Because it's, once again, it's just common sense. But yeah, there's regulations, and there might be a small fish that nobody ever heard of that could end up on the endangered species list because you do it, and
Yeah, well, and we've had lots and lots of that. The dart fish has created a lot of trouble here in California, even though it is of a species that lots of other species exist. It just this one is smaller, and so it has held up dams in California for decades and
Wow.
decades because it could affect this one variation of a dart fish. Um, and when I say it has been holding up dams, I mean the first person to talk about this and how it stopped a dam was Governor Ronald Reagan.
Oh my goodness.
That's how long it's been since we got a new dam approved.
Wow.
And much of it is because of this fish, and then we have lots of the endangered species of the and I it's rough because you don't want to kill off a species, but also the dinosaurs died before we all got here, so species
Uh,
die off. I
yeah,
feel
no, they
like
do.
without our help.
But apparently the dartfish has a hell of a political action committee
I
behind
know it does. It is. That is a powerful, powerful fish.
it. Yes.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. For
And
such a
it's
little fish.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I am pro environment. I think we're all at heart pro environment.
Absolutely.
We don't want to live in the Detroit from RoboCop future,
Exactly.
right? We don't want to no one wants to live in that, but there's a balance. There's a balance. And by the way, earthquakes in California are way overblown. Don't worry about that. I've been in many earthquakes, so it sounds like I'm double talking now. But trust me, in most earthquakes, you don't even you go, what was that? Was that an earthquake? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's over. I was in the '89 one. That was different. That was in the Bay Area during the World Series. That was an actual real one. But,
Yeah. No, that one pretty much was a real one. Yeah.
yeah, that was real. But
Yeah.
most earthquakes in California really aren't all that. They're
I
just
think
a
they have
mild rumbling.
because of fracking and everything else. Don't they actually have more earthquakes in Oklahoma
Yeah.
than anywhere these days?
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
of
I think that's died
fracking.
down because they're not fracking as much because it's
Yeah.
super expensive again, and gas prices aren't high enough. Yes, Kimberly, I know. Kimberly and I get to talk about this all the time. Kimberly is more scared about California earthquakes than I am.
I'm not afraid of them, but then again,
No, yeah,
I
well,
live at the Jersey Shore.
yeah, I live in California. I don't think most Californians are really all that. Like we've all experienced earthquakes; they're gentle rollings, and that's about it. But true, you don't want to build a nuclear power plant in San Francisco. That would be stupid. That
Yes.
would indeed be. That's like the Fukushima stuff. Like, hey, maybe don't build a nuclear power plant where there's going to be major earthquakes and tidal waves and stuff. But California has lots of inside to it where
Yes.
there's not where you
It's
don't
not all
have
just
this
coast.
problem. No, I know everyone thinks everything is LA here,
Yeah.
but it's not. Actually, most of it is. For those who've seen Return of the Jedi, the forest moon of Endor was shot up here in Northern California. That is more indicative of the state than LA image of the state is.
Well, I do know even though it's not all coast, you do have a beautiful Pacific Coast Highway
We
that
do.
everybody should take a ride on at some point in their lives.
I actually went down the Pacific Coast Highway, Highway 1 and Highway 1
Yes.
this weekend. I'll give you one guess where I went, Ray.
Carmel?
Very close to Carmel, actually. I actually did drive through Carmel, but I
Okay.
was up at Santa Cruz.
Oh, Santa Cruz. Okay.
Yeah. So I was on the one just testing the Tesla out because I had not driven those mountain roads. And I wanted to see because it corners well. So I was like, okay, I hate those roads. I hate that highway.
But it is beautiful.
It is beautiful, but I think you average about 25 miles an hour on that highway, and there's super windy roads that are awful. But let me tell you, the Tesla handled it beautifully. I went down through there faster than I've ever been in my life. A little too fast in
Fast,
some
but
cases,
yeah,
but it handled beautifully. It was wonderful. There was lots of charging
wow,
places along the way. I was surprised at that. So Highway 1 is beautiful, but don't build power plant out there. Uh, but everyone should drive that. I agree, Ray. Everyone should
yes,
drive that once. Just know it's a leisurely Sunday drive kind of
absolutely.
place, not a from here to there place. That's
It's not a
yeah,
drive that you're trying to do in a hurry.
no,
It's a drive that you want to take your time so that you can take in all the natural beauty that you're actually driving through. Because
yeah,
it is just remarkable when you see it. And I know when the kids and I were out there one time, we drove down part of the PCH, and it was just, and we were staying in, where's the where's the 49ers stadium? That's in is that San
that's in.
Jose?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think.
so we drove from there, and we drove through Monterey and Carmel and down a little further, and it was just
Oh,
such a
yeah.
magnificent drive.
I've
Really.
done the Levi Stadium to Carmel before. It is a beautiful drive. It just but I'm a get there kind of guy. So
Well,
I take 5, but but the one is very. I mean, it is nice. Yeah. 101. Yep. He's right. 101 is beautiful, and then you come back up 5 because that's how you get places.
yes, I understand. Well, it's
What is ugly?
approaching. It's approaching lunchtime.
It is. That's
Yes,
right. I
yes,
just want to address Kimberly real fast here on the solar panels on
yeah,
EVs. They're trying it. I know lots of makers are. They'll give you right now with the efficiency of solar panels and the weight. Don't forget,
yes,
solar panels have weight to them. And when
yes,
you add weight to an EV, of course, you decrease range and everything. So, right now, though, parked in Australia, which is a lot like the California weather, um, you get, I think you can get up to 15 miles a day.
wow,
So they're not quite like that's how you're going to power your vehicle yet. But if you're sitting in your office working all day, your car is sitting outside in the sun, and you come out and you have 10 more mile range, eh, okay,
yeah,
that's fantastic.
yeah,
That's great. So they are working on it. It's that just like the batteries,
mm,
it's a weight issue. The more energy density, the heavier it is, and the heavier it is, the less range you get, and
and it's
it's this balance.
and from what you're saying, it's a WAIT issue as well, a different weight issue.
Yes.
You need to wait a little longer
Yep.
so that they can perfect the technology. Yes, it's a wait issue.
Yeah. Yep. It's all about the holy grail, the solid state, which Toyota's working on, and I have
Yes,
confidence in Toyota. So between them and Tesla, I'm sure we're going to get something out there that's going to be better, and then we'll see.
exactly.
Um, all right. Well, so we've talked about almost nothing today. So
I thought we covered quite a bit.
yeah, well, nothing easy. We talked about a lot of politics, but that's fine. So you will not be here tomorrow.
I will
You are
not.
abandoning me tomorrow.
Well, I didn't mean to abandon you, um, but I do have a follow-up doctor's appointment tomorrow, and that's at 1:20. And as I explained to Kimberly, it's on the mainland, because I live on the island. It's on the
Oh,
mainland, and so it's a 15-minute drive for me to get there. And they always want me there to be a little earlier than the appointment.
yeah.
And then I found out when I went downstairs that somebody's coming in to test the fire equipment in the speaker system. So they have to enter every apartment tomorrow to test the speaker system in the apartment. And I can tell you it works because I can hear it, and I'm hard of hearing.
They'll
And
do
I
that at the 9 o'clock show, or the noon
and
show
I
for you.
said,
They
hey, they can come in anytime they want. They just can't come in between noon and 12:30.
yeah.
Okay. Otherwise, I'm not opening the damn door for them. But they would have keys anyway. But so that's another reason why I can't do it, because I have no idea when they're going to come in here to test the speaker system, and they'll be in my apartment for about 10 minutes, and that'll give them time to clean me out, I suppose, from my watch collection or something. I don't know.
Yeah, lock that up. Lock that up.
Yeah.
So, while I will miss you today or tomorrow,
Yes.
today, because I see you right now.
Yeah, right now.
I will miss you tomorrow.
Yes.
I do have a very special guest coming on tomorrow. Miss Kimberly Klein will be back. So very excited about that.
She's doing double duty as far as live streams this week.
I know. I'm trying to, we got to figure out something for Thursday. So she could just be on at least one of the shows every day this week. She could do the whole week. It would be Kimberly week.
It could be.
Which is always good. I love seeing Kimberly. Love having her here. So no idea what we'll talk about. I'm just going to leave it up to her. I'm just going to maybe it'll be just Kimberly asks questions tomorrow.
That could be good. Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Ray. And I will see you on Friday.
Absolutely.
I think it'll be Justin's last Friday for a few weeks.
Really?
As he is expecting, and he needs some time with his new son.
Wow,
so,
very nice. He didn't even look remotely pregnant, but that's okay. Yeah.
So he's expecting his wife to give birth, I believe.
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't finish that sentence.
Yes. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
So I have a bet with him on whether it's going to be the 18th or the 25th. But Ray, she is due on the 25th.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I've said either one. You're going to be good either way. 18th, 25th.
Either way.
Whatever. Yeah. It's going to be a great baby.
Well, I will see you and Justin on Friday. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. You have a good day, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.